What if I told you that the Civil War wasn't just a clash between North and South, generals and battlefields, but a war filled with secrets, mysteries, and forgotten voices? Children marched into gunfire. Love letters were written but never read. An entire regiment disappeared into the smoke of battle. A woman walked among soldiers, hiding her true identity. And prisons where men wasted away in silence, leaving only their words behind. These are not the stories in textbooks. These are the shadows of the Civil War, the stories that history tried to bury. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden stories of Civil War soldiers. Stories that reveal the pain, sacrifice, and mystery of a nation torn apart. Stay with me until the end, because the final story isn't just about history, it's about the ghosts that still walk among us. The battlefield of Chickamauga in 1863 was chaos. Smoke hung low, cannon fire thundered through the trees, and men screamed in agony. Among the soldiers was a boy so small that the musket he carried nearly dwarfed him. His name was Johnny Clem, only 12 years old. Johnny wasn't supposed to be there. At first, the Union Army rejected him. He was just a child. But his persistence earned him a place as a drummer boy. When bullets tore through the battlefield, Johnny kept marching, beating the drum that told men when to advance and when to retreat. But at Chickamauga, Johnny's role changed forever. Separated from his unit, he found himself cornered by a Confederate officer who demanded his surrender. The boy raised his musket, fired, and the officer fell. Newspapers back home called him the Drummer Boy of Chickamauga, a hero. But behind the glory was something darker, childhood stolen. Johnny was not the only one. Thousands of boys, some as young as 9, enlisted as drummers, messengers, and fighters. They carried the weight of war before they had even lived their lives. Imagine a soldier in his tent, the night before battle. A single candle flickers as he dips his pen into ink, the paper shaking in his hands. This was Major Sullivan Ballou, writing to his beloved wife, Sarah. He knew death was coming. His letter was a farewell, filled with words of undying love. Sarah, my love for you is deathless. If I do not return, never forget how much I love you. Days later, at the Battle of Bull Run, Ballou was struck down. His body was desecrated, his grave destroyed. Sarah never received the letter during her lifetime. It was found much later, tucked away in archives. For the soldiers of the Civil War, writing letters was the only way to hold on to the people they loved. Thousands poured their souls onto fragile paper, never knowing if their words would reach home. Sullivan's letter has survived not just as a message to Sarah, but as a haunting reminder of what war takes, not just lives, but futures, love stories, and families. The Battle of Antietam was the bloodiest single day in American history. Over 23,000 men were killed, wounded, or missing. In the thick morning fog, a Union regiment marched into the cornfields. Eyewitnesses saw them vanish into the smoke. Hours passed, but they never emerged. Some said they were wiped out to the last man, swallowed by musket fire and cannon blasts. Others whispered they had been captured and marched away. And then there were rumors that they simply disappeared. For decades after, soldiers who returned to Antietam swore they could still hear footsteps in the fields, voices shouting orders, muskets firing in the mist. Was it memory, or was it something else? The mystery of the vanishing regiment became part of battlefield lore, a chilling reminder that war leaves behind questions that may never be answered. Not all soldiers were men. Sarah Edmonds, determined to fight for the Union, disguised herself as a man named Franklin Thompson. She cut her hair short, wore ill-fitting uniforms, and learned to lower her voice. Among the men, no one suspected her secret. She marched, drilled, and fought beside them. She tended the wounded, carrying injured soldiers off the battlefield. Some accounts even claim she worked as a spy, slipping behind enemy lines in disguise. But imagine her fear every single day, living in close quarters, never letting her guard down, knowing discovery meant ruin. Years later, when her secret was revealed, many were shocked. Yet she was honored with a soldier's pension, one of the few women officially recognized as a veteran of the Civil War. Her story is one of courage, but also of the countless women who, hidden in plain sight, shaped the war in ways history often forgets. If the battlefield was hell, Andersonville Prison was worse. Designed to hold 10,000 men, at its peak it crammed in over 30,000. Prisoners stood shoulder to shoulder, with no shelter from the blistering sun or pouring rain. Food was scarce, water filthy. Disease spread like wildfire. Among them was a young soldier who kept a diary. Each day, he recorded the horror. Men collapsing from hunger. The stench of death hanging in the air. Dreams of freedom fading into despair. Many prisoners didn't make it out. Those who did carried scars that never healed. His diary survives, fragile pages, but filled with voices that refuse to be silenced. Andersonville reminds us that the suffering of war wasn't only on the battlefield, but in the cages where men were left to rot. Today, the Civil War battlefields are quiet. Grass grows where blood once soaked the soil. Yet, many say the soldiers never left. Visitors to Gettysburg, Antietam, and Chickamauga have reported phantom drums, ghostly voices in the night, and apparitions of soldiers marching across the fields. Some dismiss it as imagination. Others believe it's history refusing to fade. Whether real or not, these stories remind us that war leaves an imprint not just on the land, but on memory itself. Think about it: a child soldier firing his musket, a love letter that never found its home, a regiment swallowed by fog, a woman hiding among men, prisoners dying in silence, and ghosts that still march in the night. These are the hidden stories of the Civil War, and they remind us that history is not just about victories and defeats, but about the lives caught in between. The Civil War ended more than 150 years ago, but its hidden stories are still here, in letters, in diaries, in shadows. If these stories moved you, there are countless more waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe to this channel, and together, let's bring the forgotten voices of history back to life.